There are moments when a man's attraction does not roar like thunder but coils in silence, concealed in the hidden corridors of his psyche. Desire, when true, is never simple. It wrestles with shadow, with fear, with the archetypes buried in the unconscious. It is never just a surface glimmer of lust. It is a trembling of the anima reaching toward its counterpart, the pull of opposites seeking to complete what was once divided. He does not always confess it with words. Instead, the truth escapes in behaviors, small gestures that betray what the ego desperately tries to contain. You sense it not in declarations but in tensions, in hesitations, in the magnetic wave of his gaze that lingers too long. And yet, the question emerges in the heart of every woman who stands in the mystery of connection. How does one discern whether his attraction is deep, or if it is only a passing shadow flickering against the cave wall of convenience? The answer lies not in surface charm, but in the ancient language of behavior. 5 currents, woven into the fabric of archetype and psychology, whisper the truth. Each is both ordinary and extraordinary, each a fragment of his unconscious laid bare. But before you can see them in him, you must first see yourself reflected. For a man's attraction is never simply about you. It is about the projection of his inner feminine, the anima, onto your being. When he is deeply drawn, he is not only reaching for you, he is reaching for the missing half of his own soul. This is why attraction can feel like destiny, and why it can also terrify him. To desire you is to stand before the mirror of his own shadow, his own forgotten tenderness, his own suppressed longings. In the ancient language of myth, you are not just a woman. You are Persephone, you are Aphrodite, you are the high priestess who stirs the kingdom of his unconscious awake. And yet, the feminine must not be deceived. Desire can become illusion. Projection can become prison. For Jung warned, the anima, if left unconscious, can ensnare a man in fantasy rather than truth. To know whether he is truly drawn, to feel whether the thread runs deep, you must not only look at his words, you must see his behaviors as the compass that points toward his hidden longing. These behaviors are not tricks of performance. They are ruptures in the mask of the ego. They are cracks in armor control where his deeper self emerges, unguarded, trembling, human. They are glimpses of his soul speaking, even when his lips remain closed. As you watch, as you listen, as you sense the subtle rhythms, you will learn that the male psyche speaks in codes. He will reveal himself, not in grand confessions, but in the smallest rituals. The way he sacrifices comfort, the way he cannot stop orbiting your presence, the way silence between you becomes unbearable. And you, the feminine, must learn not only to see these signs, but to feel them without losing yourself in them. For true empowerment does not come from being the object of attraction, but from remaining sovereign even in the presence of it. The journey begins here. 5 behaviors that emerge when a man is deeply attracted. Each one a bridge between his conscious self and the feminine mystery he both longs for and fears. Each one a mirror, not only of his desire, but of your own worth. The question is not only, is he drawn to you? The deeper question is, what does his attraction awaken in you? Does it call you into your power, or into your wound? Does it invite you into sacred union, or into self-abandonment? For the truth is this, to recognize attraction is to confront not only his shadow, but your own. The first behavior, attraction, when real, often arrives cloaked in paradox. He may not yet declare affection, and yet his body betrays him. The first sign does not emerge in poetry, but in the quiet, instinctive impulse to protect. Watch carefully. It is not always the grand gestures. Sometimes it is a subtle shift of his stance when you walk together, the unconscious way he positions himself between you and the crowd, the sudden alertness in his eyes when another man lingers too long near you. In these moments, you are witnessing not the rational mind, but the primal archetype, the guardian awakening from its slumber. Carl Jung spoke of archetypes as ancient patterns imprinted on the psyche, alive in every human though often unrecognized. This instinct to shield, to guard, is the warrior archetype breaking through persona. Beneath his polished mask of civility, something older moves. It is not performance, it is compulsion. The ego rarely plans such movements. They surge from the unconscious, like tides pulled by the moon. But why? Why does a man feel the pull to guard when attraction runs deep? The answer lies in projection. To him, you are not merely flesh and face. You are the anima embodied, the inner feminine his soul has long sought. Protecting you becomes, symbolically, protecting the part of himself he has denied, the lost tenderness he cannot bear to see harmed. And here's the paradox that makes desire both beautiful and dangerous. His instinct to guard is not always about you. It is about the fragile reflection of himself he perceives in you. You are mirror and muse, and the unconscious cannot bear to see its reflection broken. This is why he will notice dangers you do not. Why his body will lean toward you when shadows gather. Why the ordinary act of crossing a street becomes ritual, his hand reaching, not because he believes you weak, but because something ancient within him whispers, keep her safe. Yet the empowered feminine must not romanticize blindly, for protection, when unconscious, can twist into possession. What begins as safeguarding can curdle into control. This is where the shadow enters. The darker aspect of attraction, when a man fears not only losing you, but losing the part of himself he has projected onto you. If unchecked, his instinct to protect may demand obedience, silence, surrender. And so, your task is not only to notice the behavior, but to discern its root. When he shields you, is it born of reverence or fear? Does he stand beside you as guardian or over you as captor? To sense this is to awaken your own anima within. For Jung teaches, the feminine must also integrate her animus, the masculine within her psyche. When you cultivate your own inner protector, you do not depend blindly on his. You receive his instinct not as salvation, but as offering. You recognize a gift, yet you remain sovereign. In those subtle gestures, the hand at your back, the watchful glance, the stillness when danger whispers, you glimpse the depth of his attraction. He does not shield strangers this way. He does not stand unconsciously in orbit around those who do not stir his soul. His behavior reveals what words conceal. You have become for him the living symbol of the feminine he longs to honor, even as his ego trembles before it. And so, when you see this first behavior, when his body speaks the language of protection, do not rush to claim it, nor dismiss it. Let it reveal itself in silence. For it is in silence that the unconscious speaks most truthfully. Here, in the quiet stance of his body, you will find the first thread of certainty. Attraction that runs deeper than flesh, attraction that awakens archetype, attraction that reveals his animus stirring awake. But this is only the beginning. For protection is instinct. Attraction, when deeper still, would demand something far more vulnerable. Presence. The second behavior. There is a weight in the air when he is near. You feel it before words are spoken, before glances are exchanged. It is an invisible pull of presence, his body anchored unconsciously toward you, his attention bending like a compass needle toward magnetic north. This is the second behavior of deep attraction. The way his presence betrays him. He may try to conceal it, may bury it beneath casual words or practice indifference, but the unconscious is clumsy when it comes to desire. His body will linger where his ego tells him to depart. His gaze will return when logic insists it should move elsewhere. His very energy shifts, orbiting your gravity, as though some part of him has already surrendered. Carl Jung wrote a projection as the great shaper of love's illusions. When he is drawn to you, he is not only responding to your presence, he is beholding his anima through you, the missing half of his soul he has disowned. It is not only you he sees, but the possibility of completion. And so, he cannot look away. Notice how silence thickens between you. With others, his words flow easily. With you, pauses arrive, weighted with meaning. He may stumble, repeat himself, or retreat into quietness. Not because there is nothing to say, but because too much stirs beneath the surface. His unconscious is loud, even when his mouth is still. This struggle with presence is archetypal. It is a lover archetype awakening, torn between longing and fear. To be fully present with you is to risk dissolving into the abyss of intimacy, to risk the death of his separate self. Desire always whispers of union, but union whispers of annihilation, ego's greatest terror. Thus he oscillates. He stays close, then drifts away, then returns again. His unconscious cannot keep distance. His conscious cannot sustain closeness. You become the axis around which he circles, never quite escaping, never fully landing. Here lies the paradox that every empowered woman must understand. His presence is not always comfort. Sometimes it is restless, uneasy, charged with a tension he cannot name. His attraction binds him. His fear prevents surrender. This is not failure. It is revelation. It shows the depth of the archetypal current flowing beneath the surface. Do not mistake this orbit for weakness. A man who lingers in presence, even silently, is confessing something his ego dares not articulate. It is not performance. It is compulsion. The psyche cannot conceal what the heart has already chosen. But here, the shadow waits. For when a man is not conscious of his projection, presence can twist into fixation. He may stare, not out of reverence, but out of hunger. He may hover, not to honor your essence, but to possess it. Attraction without awareness becomes obsession, and obsession without individuation becomes prison. And so, you, the feminine, must listen not only to his presence, but to your own body's response. Do you feel nourished in his nearness, or drained? Do you feel expanded in his attention, or diminished? For his presence reveals not only his desire, but your boundaries. In Jungian terms, individuation demands that you hold your center, even when his energy orbits you. You are not the moon waiting for his gravity. You are the sun, radiant with or without his gaze. His presence is a mirror, not a crown. And yet, when attraction runs deep, you will feel it unmistakably. The way conversation falters into silence. The way his body unconsciously turns toward yours. The way his laughter grows louder when you enter the room. These are not accidents. They are the psyche unveiling its secret longings through behavior. For presence is not neutral. Presence is confession. And when his attraction is true, he cannot help but confess without speaking. This is a second thread of certainty. His presence bends toward you, even when his ego resists. He stays in your orbit, not because he chooses to, but because the unconscious has already chosen for him. But there is more. Protection and presence reveal the beginning of desire. Yet when attraction deepens further, he will stumble into the most vulnerable behavior of all, the surrender of his words. Third behavior. There is a moment when silence no longer suffices. His body has circled, his gaze has betrayed him, but something restless stirs deeper. Desire unspoken becomes unbearable, and so escapes in fragments of language. Small disclosures, unexpected confessions, words that seem to slip from him before he realizes they were spoken. This is the third behavior of deep attraction. His compulsion to reveal. He may not confess love outright, but he will begin to unfold his inner world before you. Shadows he guards from others, memories sealed in silence, dreams too fragile for the marketplace of ordinary conversation. All of these begin to surface when he is near you. It is as though your presence loosens the knots of his tongue, draws the hidden out of hiding. Carl Jung called this the dialogue between conscious and unconscious, the anima as psychopomp, guiding a man into contact with the depths of his soul. When he is drawn to you, you become more than woman. You become the doorway through which he encounters himself. And so he speaks, not only to you, but through you, to the parts of himself he has never dared to face. Notice how his voice changes. With others, his words may be polished, deliberate, protective of his image. With you, they falter, they wander, they reveal cracks in the armor. He tells you of childhood scars, of failures that still sting, of secret hopes he scarcely admits even to himself. His ego resists this nakedness, yet attraction makes resistance impossible. His desire for you collides with his fear of exposure, and words spill out into tension. This is no small thing. For a man does not risk vulnerability unless something archetypal moves within him. To reveal is to surrender control, and control is ego's fortress. In allowing you glimpses into his inner sanctum, he is not only showing attraction, he is offering trust, even if he cannot yet name it as such. But again, beware the shadow. Vulnerability can masquerade as performance. Some men, unconsciously, wield confession as seduction, disguise and manipulation as intimacy. He may speak of wounds to bind your empathy, to weave you into his suffering so you cannot leave. This is not true attraction but shadowed hunger, a projection of need disguised as closeness. You must discern. Ask yourself, does his revelation expand your connection, or does it ensnare you in his pain? Does he share in order to be known, or in order to be rescued? For attraction without consciousness will always pull you toward roles that diminish your sovereignty. And yet, when his words are true, you will feel the difference. There is a trembling in honest revelation, a rawness no mask can fake. He does not cast himself as hero or victim. He simply opens a door to the labyrinth within, allowing you to glimpse the minotaur and the child alike. Here, the lover archetype deepens into the poet. He begins to see not only your body, but your soul as witness. You are no longer the silent mirror of his projection. You are the vessel into which his truth can be poured. And though he fears drowning, he cannot resist the river's flow. For Jung teaches, love is not merely attraction, but the meeting of two individuating souls. When he speaks his hidden truths, he is unwittingly stepping into individuation, risking the death of persona for the birth of authenticity. You become midwife to this process, whether you choose to hold it or not. Your task, then, is to remain rooted. Do not abandon yourself in the intoxication of his words. Listen, yes. Witness, yes. But remember, you are not the healer of his wounds, nor the savior of his shadows. His revelations belong to him. His individuation is his to undertake. And yet, do not underestimate the significance of this moment. For a man who is deeply attracted cannot remain hidden. His psyche demands unveiling, and you will feel in the cadence of his voice, in the unguarded confessions that escape in quiet hours. This is the third thread of certainty. His attraction compels him to reveal what he hides from others. Words become offerings, fragments of soul laid trembling before you. But attraction, when it deepens, does not end with words. Words are fragile, fleeting. The true measure lies in action, in the sacrifices he makes, the rearrangements of his life that silently declare, you matter. The fourth behavior. Desire begins with glances. It grows in presence. It trembles into words. But when it deepens further, it demands something heavier, something costlier than gazes or confessions. Attraction, when true, will always move towards sacrifice. This is the fourth behavior. The reordering of his world for you. It may appear subtle, a change in his schedule, the decision to walk the longer path, if it means your paths will cross. The way his plans shift imperceptibly to align with yours. These are not merely conveniences. They are unconscious sacrifices. His life begins to bend around your orbit, not because he plans it, but because his psyche insists upon it. Jung spoke of individuation as the integration of opposites, the surrender of ego's illusion of control. When a man is deeply drawn, his ego begins to loosen. He gives up small comforts, fragments of pride, sometimes entire structures of his daily life, because attraction has awakened a force greater than self-preservation. Notice, he does not sacrifice for everyone. The ego guards its territory jealously. But when the Anima shines before him, when he sees in you not only woman but the reflection of his own missing soul, he begins to yield. His unconscious whispers, she must be near, she must be honored, she must be made space for. This is a king archetype stirring. For the immature man clings to possession, but the emerging king learns to give. He sacrifices not as performance, but as instinct. He is willing to rearrange his world, not because he loses himself, but because some part of him is already recognized. Attraction without offering is hollow. Yet, again, the shadow lurks. Sacrifice can decay into martyrdom, into manipulation, into the silent ledger of debts kept. He may give, but only to bind you, to claim authority over you, to weave chains disguised as gifts. This is not true attraction, but the shadow king, the tyrant who cloaks control in generosity. Here the feminine must be discerning. True sacrifice is free, uncalculated. It asks for nothing in return, though it secretly longs for recognition. False sacrifice demands repayment, weaving obligation into intimacy. To remain sovereign is to receive without guilt, but also to see clearly. His choices are his own, his sacrifices are his own, his life remains as to order. And yet, when the sacrifice is true, it cannot be ignored. The man who once lived for himself begins to live in relation. He chooses discomfort over distance, inconvenience over absence. He begins to value your well-being as inseparable from his own, not always with grand gestures, but with a quiet consistency of presence, the steady prioritization of your existence in his world. Here the Stoics and Jung converge. For Marcus Aurelius spoke of virtue as aligning one's actions with a higher order of the soul, and Jung spoke of love as the meeting of two individuating beings. Both understood. The measure of a man is not in his declarations, but in the sacrifices he endures for what he values. And so, when he shifts his life for you, when his comfort yields, when his patterns bend, you are witnessing something profound. His attraction is not casual. It has pressed into his identity, demanding change. He cannot remain who he was before you. This is why deep attraction feels like destiny. It rearranges, it unsettles, it dissolves old structures to make room for what has not yet been born. He may not even understand why he is making these changes, why your presence weighs so heavily on his choices. But his unconscious knows. The king within him rises, and the king must give. But sacrifice is not the final proof, for even gifts can deceive. The truest sign of attraction lies not in what he protects, not in how he orbits, not in what he reveals, not even in what he gives. The deepest behavior of all is found in his fear, the vulnerability he cannot mask, the trembling silence when he stands on the threshold of intimacy, knowing that if he steps through, nothing of his old self will remain. He fit behavior. Every mask can be polished, every gesture rehearsed, every word chosen with care. But there is one thing a man cannot disguise when his attraction cuts to the marrow: fear. This is a fit behavior, the trembling silence that accompanies intimacy, not the fear of rejection, though that lingers at the edges, not the fear of failure, though it hums beneath his skin. This is something older, archetypal, the fear of dissolution, the fear that in loving you, in surrendering to gravity you awaken, he will lose the boundaries of himself. Carl Jung warned of this terror. The anima, when projected on the beloved, does not merely invite affection. It threatens the ego with annihilation. To desire you deeply is to face the abyss of transformation, the death of the old self. His conscious identity, built carefully over years, feels fragile when your presence shakes the foundations. This is why his hands may tremble when he reaches for yours. Why his laughter, bold with others, falters into awkwardness in your company. Why his eyes, steady in every other domain, flicker with vulnerability when they meet yours. His ego cannot command composure in the face of such power. The unconscious sees him, and the unconscious is merciless in its revelations. Watch him carefully. When he is truly drawn, he will reveal his fear not in dramatic confessions, but in hesitation, in the pause before his words, in the way silence thickens when he longs to speak but cannot, in the small acts of clumsiness that betray the war inside him. This trembling is sacred. It is a sign that attraction has pierced beyond surface, beyond persona, into the very threshold of individuation. He is not merely desiring you. He is confronting himself, facing the shadow that whispers a dependency of loss, of surrender. Here the archetype of death and rebirth enters. For deep attraction always carries death within it. The death of who he was before he met you. To step toward you is to step into transformation, to allow the old structures of identity to collapse so that something new may rise. This is no small risk. It is the most terrifying risk the ego can imagine. And yet, this fear is not weakness, it is reverence. The man who does not tremble before intimacy is either shallow in desire or unconscious of its power. Only the one who feels deeply will feel the quake of terror, because only he knows what is at stake. Not just pleasure, but the reshaping of his soul. But beware, fear can paralyze as well as awaken. Some men retreat, fleeing the intensity of attraction, burying themselves in distraction or detachment. They cannot bear the death of self that love demands. Others remain, trembling, yet choose to stay present despite it. This choice reveals everything. For true attraction, when it deepens, does not erase fear, it transfigures it. The trembling becomes a doorway, the hesitation a threshold, the silence a cathedral where something sacred is about to unfold. And you, the feminine, must not misread his trembling as lack of desire. It is not absence, but excess. It is not indifference, but overwhelm. His fear is the clearest confession of all. You have touched a place in him no one else has reached. In Jungian language, you have awakened the axis between his conscious and unconscious. In Stoic language, you have brought him face to face with the fragility of control. In both, you have become catalyst, mirror, midwife to transformation. This is the fifth and final thread. His deepest attraction reveals itself not in strength but in trembling, in the way his soul quakes at the threshold of surrender, knowing that if he steps through, he will never again be the same. And here, the journey of behaviors reaches its climax. For protection, presence, revelation, sacrifice, all lead to this, the holy terror of intimacy. To stand before you, trembling, is to stand before the possibility of rebirth. But the story does not end with him, for his fear awakens a question in you as well. Will you receive his trembling with compassion, or with conquest? Will you meet his vulnerability with your sovereignty intact, or will you lose yourself in his shadow? For attraction, in its deepest form, is not only about him, it is about you. The 5 behaviors stand like ancient markers along a path. Protection, presence, revelation, sacrifice, trembling. Each one is distinct, yet none can be separated from the others. They weave together into a pattern older than memory, a map of how attraction awakens the unconscious and draws 2 souls toward the possibility of transformation. Carl Jung taught that what we call love is rarely just about the beloved. More often, it is the psyche seeking its missing parts through projection. The man who protects you, who cannot leave your orbit, who reveals, who sacrifices, who trembles. He is not only reaching for you, he is reaching for the lost feminine within himself, the anima that has wandered in exile. This is why attraction feels so charged, so dangerous, so luminous. For in you, he sees not only beauty or kindness or strength. He sees the possibility of completion. He sees what his soul has long denied. You are not merely a woman in his eyes. You are myth incarnate, the archetypal feminine, the eternal mirror. But here lies the danger. For projection can elevate, but it can also imprison. The man who sees his anima in you may worship you beyond reality, may place on you a burden too heavy to bear. He does not see you as you are, but as the vessel of his own longing. To stand in that place is intoxicating, but also perilous. This is where feminine empowerment becomes essential. For the awakened woman does not confuse projection for truth. She sees his behaviors, feels their weight, but does not surrender her sovereignty to them. She knows attraction is not proof of destiny. Attraction is revelation of him, of his unconscious, of the mirror he has found in her presence. To remain sovereign is to hold these revelations lightly, to witness his protection without needing it for survival, to receive his presence without losing your own, to listen to his revelations without becoming his healer, to honor his sacrifices without becoming indebted, to hold his trembling without rescuing him from his fear. For true empowerment means this. You remain the axis of your own world, even as he orbits yours. You are not defined by his desire. You are illuminated by your own. And yet, do not dismiss the sacredness of what you have seen. For when a man moves through these 5 behaviors, you are not merely witnessing attraction. You are witnessing the beginning of individuation. He is being drawn out of his ego's fortress, pulled toward a truth greater than himself. He may not name it. He may not understand it. But his unconscious has already begun the work. Here the Stoics and Jung stand side by side. The Stoics remind us, nothing external can define your worth, not even love. Jung reminds us, every connection is also a mirror of the self. Together they teach this. The purpose of attraction is not possession, but awakening. So when you see these behaviors, ask not only, is he drawn to me? Ask instead, what in me is being reflected? What in me is awakening? What shadows do I project in return? For just as he sees his anima in you, you too may see your animus in him, the masculine within you that longs for integration. This is why attraction shakes the soul. It is never just about romance. It is about the alchemy of 2 unconscious worlds colliding, demanding recognition, demanding growth. And so, the 5 behaviors are not only signs of his desire. They are invitations for him, for you, for the sacred work of becoming whole, to protect, to be present, to reveal, to sacrifice, to tremble. These are not merely signs of attraction. They are stages in the great ritual of love, the death and rebirth of identity that awakens when two archetypes meet in flesh. The question is never simply, does he love me? The deeper question is, what will I do with the revelation of his love? When a man reveals attraction to protection, presence, sacrifice, or trembling, it is easy, almost irresistible, for a woman to slip into the spell of it. For centuries, women have been conditioned to believe that their worth is reflected in the eyes of men, that to be chosen is to be crowned, that to be desired is to be validated. But here's the truth Jung would whisper, a truth the Stoics would nod toward with quiet agreement. If you make his desire to measure your worth, you have already lost yourself. The empowered feminine does not seek to be completed by another. She seeks to be reflected, challenged, awakened, but never defined. Attraction may illuminate you, but it does not create you. You were whole before he trembled. You will be whole long after. This is the essence of shadow work, to recognize where you are tempted to collapse into his gaze. For every woman carries within her the shadow of unworthiness, the voice that says, if he chooses me, then I am enough. If he leaves, I am nothing. This is not love. This is bondage to the shadow. To rise beyond it, you must turn inward. Ask yourself, why does his protection feel so intoxicating? Is it because I secretly fear I cannot protect myself? Why does his presence thrill me? Is it because I fear being unseen? Why does his sacrifice move me? Is it because I believe I am undeserving of such devotion? Why does his trembling awaken me? Is it because I long to feel powerful in someone else's eyes? These questions are not meant to diminish his love. They are meant to reveal the places within you where shadow still rules. For when you can see these shadows clearly, his behaviors no longer define you. They teach you. The feminine shadow often takes two forms. The first is collapse, to lose yourself as desire, to define your worth by his attention. The second is inflation, to mistake his trembling for your superiority, to use his vulnerability as proof of your dominance. Both are illusions. Both keep you chained. True empowerment lies in the middle path, to witness his attraction without collapsing into it and without inflating because of it, to stand sovereign, grounded in your own worth, even as his unconscious calls out for you. This is why shadow work is not only personal, it is relational. Every attraction stirs a shadow. Every connection tempts you to abandon yourself. The work is to remain whole, even as you enter the dance. And when you do, something miraculous happens. You are no longer simply the object of his projection. You become the mirror that helps him see himself. You become the presence that awakens him to his own anima, his own shadow, his own path of individuation. This is not because you saved him, but because you refuse to lose yourself in him. The Stoics would call this virtue, to act not out of need, but out of alignment with truth. Jung would call it integration, to hold both shadow and light, to remain whole in the face of love storms. The empowered woman does not reject love. She does not harden her heart, but neither does she kneel to the altar of being chosen. Instead, she holds attraction as sacred mirror, as invitation, as awakening. She knows. The man who protects her is revealing his anima. The man who sacrifices for her is revealing his longing. The man who trembles before her is revealing his shadow. But none of this is a crown upon her head. It is simply the work of two unconscious souls meeting, colliding, reflecting. And so, she walks the path of sovereignty. She honors the beauty of what she sees, but she does not mistake it for her own essence. She holds love with open hands, allowing it to transform, allowing it to teach, but never allowing it to enslave. This is the deepest empowerment, to know that you are not chosen because you are worthy. You are worthy whether you are chosen or not. When you live this truth, his attraction ceases to be a source of anxiety or validation. It becomes what was always meant to be, an alchemical fire that refines you both, if you are willing to endure its heat. Love, when stripped of its disguises, is not merely romance. It is not only the flutter of the heart, the brush of lips, the trembling of hands. Beneath those surface flames lies a deeper fire, the fire of alchemy. For every true encounter between man and woman is not just personal, it is archetypal. It is psyche meeting psyche, unconscious colliding with unconscious, shadow pressing against shadow, until sparks fly. When he protects, when he attends, when he sacrifices, when he trembles, you are not simply witnessing a man in love. You are witnessing the archetypal dance of Anima and Animus, ancient as myth itself. His attraction is not just for your body, your smile, your presence. It is the part of the soul he has exiled, now reflected in you. Carl Jung called this the work of individuation, the lifelong journey of integrating the fragmented pieces of the self. No one can complete this journey alone. We need mirrors. We need encounters. And so, attraction becomes a crucible in which transformation occurs. For the man, you embody his anima, the living image of tenderness, intuition, mystery, eros. When he is near you, he feels closer to the feminine within himself. Your presence draws out what he has repressed, challenges what he has denied. His instinct to protect is not only about you, it is about his own lost innocence. His trembling is not only desire, it is a shattering of his ego before the mystery of his soul. And for you, he embodies your animus, the masculine within your psyche. His presence awakens your own inner protector, your own authority, your own voice. If you allow it, his devotion becomes a mirror of your own inner strength. His sacrifice challenges you to claim your worth. His vulnerability calls you to hold power without cruelty. This is the alchemy. Two psyches meeting, each projecting, each reflecting, each forced to confront the shadows they would rather leave buried. But alchemy is never gentle. Fire does not whisper, it consumes. To enter the crucible of love is to be willing to burn. He must burn away the illusion that you are his possession, his salvation, his lost mother or muse. You must burn away the illusion that his gaze defines your worth, that his trembling proves your power. Only then can love emerge purified, not projection, but recognition. The Stoics remind us that love is not control. It is not clinging. It is not ownership. It is the recognition of beauty, without the demand to possess it. Jung reminds us that love is not completion. It is not escape. It is confrontation with the unconscious. It is shadow work in the most intimate form. Thus, when you and he stand in the heat of attraction, you stand at the threshold of transformation. If you both cling to illusion, the fire will consume you. If you both dare to face yourselves, the fire will refine you. Consider the myths: Eros and Psyche, Shiva and Shakti, Orpheus and Eurydice. Each story is not about two lovers alone. It is about the eternal dance of masculine and feminine energies, the fragile path between projection and individuation. Attraction has always been the spark, but transformation has always been the goal. And so, when he reveals his attraction through these 5 behaviors, you must look deeper, not at the gesture, but at what it reveals, not at the romance, but at the archetype. For it is here, in the invisible realm, that love becomes sacred. This is a meeting of archetypes. His animus stirred awake, your animus rising in strength. 2 mirrors facing each other, reflecting both beauty and shadow. 2 souls stepping into the alchemical fire, each ask the same silent question. Will you remain blind in projection, or will you awaken to recognition? For only in recognition does love endure. Only when the masks burn away. Only when shadow is integrated. Only when both man and woman stand sovereign yet open does attraction transcend the personal and become the eternal. This is the alchemy of love. It does not make you whole. You are whole already, but it reveals the parts of yourself you had forgotten. It does not grant you power. You were powerful already, but it challenges you to wield it wisely. It does not give you a soul. It awakens the one you already carry. In this fire, there is no possession, no collapse, no inflation, only the raw, trembling recognition of 2 beings mirroring each other's divinity and humanity all at once. That is the secret hidden in his behaviors. That is the transformation traction is asking of you both. And so the story of attraction circles back to silence. You have walked through the signs, the way he shields you without thought, the way his presence clings like shadow, the way sacrifice bleeds from him without words, the way his body betrays trembling before you, the way his gaze lingers as though it has found the lost fragment of itself. But you know now, these are not just gestures of man. They are archetypal eruptions. The unconscious speaking through him, his anima awakening, his shadow trembling, his ego breaking before something older, something deeper, something sacred. And you, the woman before him, stand at the crossroads. You can let his attraction define you, collapse in the shadow that whispers, I am only enough if he sees me. Or you can rise into sovereignty, into the empowered feminine who holds a projection as mirror but not as crown. For the truth is this: love is never proof of your worth. Love is invitation. Love is fire. Love is mirror. The Stoics remind you, nothing outside of you determines your value. Not his trembling, not his sacrifice, not his devotion. You were whole before he saw you. You will be whole after. Jung reminds you, every encounter with love is a call to individuation, a call to integrate shadow, a call to see not only him, but yourself reflected in his eyes. When you step into love with open eyes, you no longer ask, does he desire me? Does he choose me? Does he tremble for me? Instead, you ask, what is his attraction awaken in me that I must face? What mirror does he hold that I am brave enough to enter? For this is the secret. His behaviors are not promises of forever. They are openings, doorways, flames flickering at the edge of the cave. What you do with them, that is where destiny is written. So pause and listen. The next time his hand shields you, the next time his presence lingers, the next time his voice falters, the next time his eyes betray more than he can say, do not rush to claim or to surrender. Breathe, see, discern. For love, when conscious, is not about possession, Not about collapse, not about control. It is about recognition. Recognition of yourself, recognition of him, recognition of the eternal dance between anima and animus, shadow and light, masculine and feminine. And here's the call. Do not settle for being chosen. Do not bow to being desired. Rise instead into sovereignty, into awareness, into the fire that refines. Let his attraction awaken you, but never define you, because a woman who knows this truth becomes untouchable. Not in coldness, not in pride, but in radiance. She shines not because he sees her, but because she has seen herself. And the man who stands before such a woman, trembling, protecting, sacrificing, present, he too is invited into his own awakening, not because she completes him, but because she mirrors back the lost fragments of his soul. This is the power of attraction, not a fairy tale, not a trap, a fire, a mirror, a path. So step into it with open eyes, hold it with reverence, and walk forward not as half, not as prey, not as idle, but as whole, always whole. If these words stirred something within you, if you felt the resonance of your own shadow, your own sovereignty, your own longing for conscious love, then let this journey continue. Breathe into what is awakened here. Carry it with you. And if you are ready for more, subscribe, stay close, step deeper into this work. For the journey of love is the journey of the self, and together we will walk further into the fire.